Alrighty guys, it is Qaaman here today, and I'm doing another episode, or I guess you could say just another video, answering subscriber questions, and this is a solo video today. I occasionally have guests on them, so without wasting any more time, I'm going to answer some questions that have been built up for about 3 months ago. What I do randomly is I just go back in time. Takes a lot of clicking view mores at the bottom, but I essentially just go back and I check to see some of the questions that you guys have left, because I've learned that a lot of you who asked my questions early, it's not fair to people who asked it a while back. And the more I do these questionnaires more frequently, I'm just going to go back even farther to even longer days where you guys probably forgot you even asked me questions. So without wasting any more time, let's go straight into this video. Alright, from Masquerade. How well would Goku do in a public learning environment, for example, school? Well, I'll tell you this much. Goku would be very good if he was in PE. I'm sure he'd be a great PE student. He could probably be a very good fitness trainer too. I mean, if we're talking about more mature schools, I think if Goku were to get an education, I think he'd be excellent at being a fitness trainer. I think he could also be really good at teaching people how to use Kai, and he could actually probably make millions of dollars off of that. He could, I mean, if he could get like a person like Bulma, or like one of Bulma's authors. I mean, you gotta think about it. Bulma has so much money, she could basically pay a person to write a book for Goku, and he could teach them how to write energy, just like how Gohan did in the post-Dragon Ball Z timeline, as Rhymestyle hinted in one of his videos. Alright, let's see. How did Future Trunks get the sword from Tapion if they never got past 18 and 17? I made a whole video on this a very long time ago, over a year ago, on how did Trunks get his sword. I never said that Trunks got a sword from Tapion, so if you watch my video, you'll find out that I don't believe he got his sword from Tapion. I made an argument as to who I thought was the most likely person. Alright, you just repeated the same question to increase the chances of me reading it. Alright, let's see. Who do you think Bojack fused with Cell and then Cell Jack? You see the Patar earrings. Which Super Boo would make Super Boo Gel? I have no idea what this person's saying. Oh, let's see. I'm sorry, dude. I don't know what you're saying. If you're saying that Boo and Cell would make Super Boo Gel, then I guess, yeah. I mean, I don't know, sorry. I don't know if English is your second language, but I have no idea what you're trying to say. Alright. Would you rather eat poop or drink pee? Well, considering the fact that I do both on a daily basis, I'm gonna have to go with pee, because I feel like with pee, like I could drink a little bit of it, and I could just spit it out, you know what I mean? And it would just go through my system very, very, very quickly. I can like use mouthwash, get rid of it. When it pertains to poop, the thing is because of doo-doo and the different types of doo-doo, it could get like stuck in my teeth, and it could make my breath smell like it could literally make my breath smell like shit. So because of that, I'm gonna have to go with drinking pee, but it's definitely two options that I wouldn't do on a very normal basis. Alright, let's see. Imperfect Self versus... I'm sorry guys, that last question was funny. Imperfect Cell versus Mecha Frieza by King Cooler. I mean, Imperfect Cell would shit on Frieza. I mean, it's not even close. I mean, considering that Trunks, you know, wiped out Frieza 3 years prior to, like, what the Z Fighters were when they fought against the androids. And, you know, Piccolo, after fusing with Kami and being on par with Super Android 17, I mean, he was stronger than Cell, but, I mean, Cell escaped and was able to, you know, damage Piccolo to some degree, so I think it's not even close. Cell's way stronger. Especially oh, I forgot a major point, too. Especially considering the fact that Imperfect Cell killed Trunks from the alternate timeline. How could I almost forget that? So if Imperfect Cell can kill Trunks from the alternate timeline, but then Mecha Frieza gets killed by Trunks, I think that's your answer. Alright, let's see. Qaaman Death Battle. Are doing Kirby versus Majin Buu. I already did this, but this was actually 3 months ago, so I don't blame you. What if all the Saiyans escaped from Frieza without he noticing it to Earth, since Kakarot was going there? And let's say that for some reason they became good. I don't know. They arrived and an avalanche hit them. What would happen? I don't think the Saiyans would go to Earth. I mean, it's a weak planet. There really was no reason why they would go there except for Goku. I mean, because Goku was a weak Saiyan. I mean, if they escaped from Frieza, I can't see him going to Earth. But if they did, I mean, I can't just see them becoming good because they're Saiyans. Saiyans are not good people on average. Vegeta was a major exception because of, you know, what Goku did and all the fights on Namek. But if you really look at it, for the most part, Saiyans aren't good people. So if they go to Earth, I can't see them being good guys. I'm sorry. And if an avalanche hit them, I don't think it would kill them. Alright. Do you ever answer questions truthfully? For the most part, yeah. I mean, I don't like answering really personal questions. If it's a minor personal question, I don't mind. But like asking serious personal questions, I kind of have a problem with that. Alright, hi Qaaman, I'm your biggest fan and ask you two things. One, who would win in a fight, Broly or Bill? And can you be on front on Skype? Well, Skype is something that I rarely use. I really only use it to record videos with other people. If you want to contact me on Skype, I'm probably not going to answer very often. As far as Broly or Bills, I say Bills is like light years above Broly. It's not even close. So yeah. Alright, can robots dream? Yes, robots can dream. Can you program them to dream? If you can program robots to dream, then they can dream. What is Mr. Popo supposed to be? If he's a genie, why doesn't he grant wishes? Well, there's different types of genies. Maybe he's like a weird genie that does not grant wishes. But it's obvious that based off of the actual artwork of Mr. Popo, he was definitely intended to have been a genie. Masquerade. Alright, do Saiyans get a Zenkai boost in the other world if they die in the real world? For example, did Goku get a Zenkai boost after being killed during the first fight with Raditz, or did Vegeta get a Zenkai boost after dying on Namek, etc.? If not, what if they did? Very good question. I think I have a very good guess on this answer. I think the answer is no, and here's why. Because Vegeta specifically said that with Zenkai boost, that when a Saiyan is nearly killed and they recover, then they get the Zenkai boost. For being dead, you didn't get severely injured and recovered, you died. So I think that's the difference. For example, with Cell, who has Saiyan cells, when he blew up, he recovered because he survived it. That cell survived. If you blow up, I mean, I don't see you getting a Zenkai boost from that. Alright, what if Goku never turned into a kid again in Dragon Ball GT? I cannot possibly answer this in a quick video. That changes the whole series. I think that affects the fight with Baby, because if he can go Super Saiyan 3 as an adult, maybe he's actually stronger. It's implied that adult Goku's stronger. Maybe Baby Vegeta would have been an easier threat. And he wouldn't have had a tail, so he would never learn Super Saiyan 4. So these are like some main things. If he doesn't know Super Saiyan 4, then, you know, the whole Super Android 17 arc could be a problem. Unless Goku finds another way to beat him, because ironically Goku beat Super 17 without Super Saiyan 4 anyways. Super Saiyan 4 really didn't make a difference in the fight. And if hypothetically the Shadow Dragons were released in some way, even though they probably wouldn't make the wish because their problems would have been solved. But eventually over time, if the Shadow Dragons were released, I mean, without Super Saiyan 4, it could be a problem. But if Goku can still use Universal Spirit Bomb, they would win. Especially considering that a lot of the Shadow Dragons were weaker anyways. Alright, how strong actually is Beerus? Can't answer this in an exact answer, but but the closest approximation to an exact answer I can give you is that Toriyama said that if Super Saiyan God Goku is a 6, then Bills would be a 10 and Whis would be a 15 in terms of power. So in comparison to Super Saiyan God, he is quite a bit above him. That's what I can say. Do you think the humans might have fared any better against the Cell Juniors if they had trained in the hyperbolic time chamber? Well, I mean, yeah, I guess, because the Cell Juniors were holding back to some degree, but I mean, they were so much weaker against the Cell Juniors. It's like basically saying this for like human terms. Like if I'm a boxer, right? And I trained for 5 years, and I just started boxing, and I trained for 5 extra years to beat Mike Tyson. Can I beat Mike Tyson? No, because he's so far ahead of me, it really doesn't make a difference if I train for 5 years. I'm still not going to be good enough. You can use the same analogy of me trying to become an NBA player at my current age. If I try to become an NBA player, I could be really good, but I mean, my skills are so inferior to them, I wouldn't be good enough. And that's kind of how I look at it, Timothy Gregory. Alright, what if Nail had died in his fight with Frieza? Well, that would change a lot. That's a very good question, Tyler Wend. Because if Nail had died against Frieza, then when Piccolo got there, and Piccolo wouldn't have anybody to fuse with, so Frieza would have had a field day beating Piccolo, and because Piccolo would have been killed off so easy, then Vegeta would have been forced to fight, and maybe then they could have done the whole Zenkai thing and pushed Frieza to maybe his second or third form, maybe his fourth form. But I mean, Frieza would probably finish him off so fast that, you know, Goku would come back, they'd all be dead. He might go Super Saiyan, and, you know, he could beat Frieza, but it's a lot of guesses, and that's actually a really good question, so I'll really actually consider this for a true what if. Good job, Tyler Went. Who's your favorite Dragon Ball Z character? He is on my banner. When you go to my channel, he represents the Dragon Ball Z section. Do you think if Gohan trained like Goku, would he be able to become a Super Saiyan 4 or more? To become a Super Saiyan 4, if you're going by GT rules, you have to have a tail. Gohan doesn't have a tail, so I don't think he could ever be a Super Saiyan 4 again. Do I think Super Saiyan 4s, Half Saiyans can possess the potential to become a Super Saiyan 4? Definitely, I do think they could, considering the fact that, you know, a lot of people have argued that only full Saiyans could go Super Saiyan 3, and Gotenks was able to go Super Saiyan 3. So I think that with Half Saiyans, I think they do possess the capability if they have a tail. And maybe that you need to multiply the amount of blood waves, maybe like twice as much because they're Half Saiyans. Because, you know, I remember reading something like there's like, you need like 17 million Xeno to turn into an ape, or something weird like that from the manga. But I think it's very possible if you have a tail, you can do it. Hello. In the Blue Saga, what if Toriyama went through with his original plans and instead of turning Vegeta Majin, turned Piccolo Majin? Do you think Goku would have had an easier time fighting Piccolo besides the fact that he's weaker than him, or would he have had an easier time fighting him? Jake Bryant, love your vids. Well, I don't remember reading Toriyama's original plan that he wanted to make Piccolo Majin. But, I mean, it's kind of hinted that that could have been the case because Krillin kind of looked at Piccolo and said, oh, well, you know, Piccolo used to be a bad guy. But when you look at it, like, if Piccolo became Majin, I don't think it'd be serious because Piccolo, I mean, although he's my... I guess I'm spoiling it for the guy who asked this question earlier. I guess even though Piccolo's my favorite character, I don't want to be biased and say that he can make a difference because against a Super Saiyan 2 Goku, or even an increased power of a Super Saiyan Goku, Piccolo wouldn't stand a chance. So Goku could easily like knock him out, and like it wouldn't even be anything. Even though Goku could have won Super Saiyan 3 and knocked Vegeta out anyways, but he would have to use less energy, which would mean that he would have more time on Earth. So I definitely, and I think that another major difference would be that for the Buu energy, you know, little plot that they had, since Goku would have been using less energy, I mean, Buu probably wouldn't have been hatched. So I think they did a much better time using Vegeta, and I think if Piccolo was there, Goku could just knock him out and then go to Babidi and stop him with Gohan, especially using instant transmission. So I do think it would have been much easier. In the history of Trunks timeline, why didn't a future Trunks come to that timeline and give Goku the anti-heart virus medicine? Made a very complex video on my alternate timeline theory. It's 43 minutes long. Basically, the way it works is that that would be impossible because all of the different future timelines overlap into the other one. So that basically means it wouldn't be possible for another future Trunks to come to the future of that Trunks because the only timelines that it existed were, to the most part, in the future Trunks timelines that we had, which I'm basically saying there was no more future after that point, because in Trunks' timeline, as weird, as complicated as this might sound, they were the furthest in the future that they could possibly be. So it would be impossible for an even farther future Trunks to go back to the future Trunks of the future Trunks, if you can kind of understand what I'm saying. I know it sounds complicated, But if you understand, please let me know in the comment section. I didn't want to make that complicated, but I didn't explain that too much in my video, but that's basically it in a nutshell. Alright, how come King Kai did not teach Yamcha, Tien, Piccolo, and Chaozu Kaioken? Spirit Bomb. I think this should be a good video topic. Honestly, I mean, that's writing. I can't do a video topic on it because that's just writing. Toriyama just didn't write it in for them to learn it. Could they have learned it from King Kai? Sure. But they didn't, and that's just what the story did. I can't really say why he just didn't. That's just the way it is in a lot of Dragon Ball Z things. Yo, Qaaman, who do you think would win in a fight, Super Perfect Cell or Majin Buu? Any form of Majin Buu shits on Super Perfect Cell. If they didn't, then Goku would have had a very, very, very easy time beating Majin Buu. In addition, with Gotenks, Gohan, all of them. I mean, even Fat Buu shits on Super Perfect Cell. What if Tien and Yamcha stayed bad? I think this would be a very good video topic. I don't know, whatever you want. Blake Bob. I mean, it's hard for me to consider this because the entire series of Dragon Ball Z was kind of predicated in a way where we have them turning good. So if they turn bad, that can go in so many different ambiguous directions. It would be basically impossible to answer. But I guess for one thing, I think that if they stayed bad, then Goku would at some point have to have killed them. I mean, because Tien was really strong. As a matter of fact, Tien did beat him in that tournament. So, I mean, Tien would be a major threat to society if he stayed bad. But Tien wasn't really that evil. He was more of a bandit than like a serious major threat like King Piccolo. And as far as Yamcha, I mean, Yamcha was relatively strong too, but I mean, Yamcha wasn't that powerful, and they would have never been trained by Master Roshi, so I definitely think Goku would have had to have killed him at some point. Will you ever make your video on your opinion of Dragon Ball Z Kai? I love Kai and personally think it's better than the original, and it gets a lot of unneeded hate because of nostalgia. James Hayes. Alright, James Hayes, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but I don't think Dragon Ball Z Kai is really important for me to talk about because first of all, I've only seen like a handful of episodes. I don't watch Dragon Ball Z Kai because of two reasons. I own the entire manga, and I've seen every single episode of the anime multiple times. So, there's nothing that Kai will add to me that I don't already know. I can understand that Kai is for, you know, more of the modern generation, and as you really think about it, Kai takes away a lot of the violence. So, that in my way is another reason, like, I mean, I kind of like the original extra blood and gore the Dragon Ball Z had. Call me a Mortal Kombat freak or whatever, but I really like it. So honestly, I don't think Dragon Ball Z Kai is really any important. I don't think it's crap. I just don't think it's important because, I mean, why do I have to watch it? You know, when I already have seen every single episode there is to see, and I've read the whole manga. It adds nothing to me. It really doesn't. And the voice actors, I guess due to nostalgia, you know, I prefer the older voice actors. I was just used to hearing their voices. But, so, I mean, honestly, I don't think it's better than the original. Only, I guess you could say part of it is nostalgia, but partially because it's just really not adding anything to the series. Alright. Actually, technically, because you took away the filler, you're actually reducing something from the series. Alright, let's see. How was Goku able to turn Super Saiyan after reverting back to his base form when he thought he was done fighting Frieza? Didn't he say to Trunks that he couldn't control his transformation until after training for that 1 year gap on Yardrat? Okay, well, this is another thing that I say is writing, but if you really think about it, he said he couldn't control it, but that doesn't mean he couldn't do it. He just couldn't do it on I guess you could say on training, like just do it when he wanted to. However, when you do remember the situation, when Goku did leave that fight with Frieza when he reverted to his base form, Frieza threw that disc and it cut Goku's cheek, and that did piss Goku off. So if you really think about it, technically Goku did get pissed off again to go Super Saiyan. This kind of reminds me a little bit in later on in the Cell Saga, when Gohan went Super Saiyan 2 for the first time, and then Cell came back after blasting Trunks in the chest, and then he's like, oh, so which one of you is going to fight me? And then Gohan just turned Super Saiyan 2 again after he'd reverted to his Super Saiyan 1 form. So I think that kind of, you know, goes along the same ballpark of, you know, it's a combination of writing and a quick burst of rage. Bart Simpson versus Stewie Griffin by Masquerade. Again, Masquerade's asked a lot of questions. I mean, based on size and the fact that he has a skateboard, I'm going to have to say Bart Simpson would have a natural edge in terms of a fist fight. But I think that due to intelligence and planning and weapons, I'm going to have to give the edge to Stewie. He's like a little baby genius. Alright, hey Qaaman, I enjoy the videos. I have a question. Do you think Dragon Ball Z would still be worth watching if they had played out the original timeline, as the main timeline Trunks is all that's left? Yes, I think it would have been a lot more interesting if they had played out the original timeline, because, well, actually, technically, the original timeline is actually the timeline that the original Trunks came from, that was killed by Imperfect Cell. That's actually the original timeline. Then there's another Future Trunks timeline, which is from the Future Trunks that we know, and I already made a whole explanation on why these 4 timelines have to exist. But basically, I have to say that for the Future Trunks timeline that we know, I think it would have been really interesting to see how, you know, his future was in terms of, you know, how he actually, you know, solved a lot of the future threats and all the problems of the Earth. So I think it would have been interesting, KC the most. Hey Oscar here, I've got an interesting DBZ question for you. What if Vegito never got absorbed by Super Buu? Well, if he never got absorbed by him, then he would have probably have, I don't know, that would have been very complicated, because the thing is, I mean, since Dende was around, the Dragon Balls were still around. So I think personally he would have just he could have killed Super Buu and then just used the Dragon Balls to, you know, wish Goku and the rest back, but he probably didn't want to kill, you know, Piccolo, Gohan, and his 2 sons. But what's funny is that they ended up dying actually technically 3 sons if you count Trunks, but technically, you know, they ended up dying anyways due to unforeseen circumstances. So I definitely think he could have solved the problem by just killing Buu and, you know, wishing him back, but I mean, he had to wish him back anyway, so it really didn't make a difference. Alright. What would happen if Vegeta stayed evil after returning from Namek, assuming he still becomes a Super Saiyan and that Goku dies from a heart virus? How would the rest of the main timeline be affected, starting from the appearance of the androids 1920? Awesome videos, thanks Qaaman. Alright, I don't think that Vegeta could have stayed evil based off of the fact that he was kind of destined to be good after all of the events that took place on Namek. However, if he did stay evil, which I doubt, I think one major thing that would have happened is that he would have never really have been around for the android threat. Trunks would have never have been born, and he would probably come back at some random point that would be almost impossible to determine and fight the Z Fighters. Main Super Saiyan Goku versus Super Saiyan Broly and Krillin and Yamcha not Kaioken one bunch of zeros. And in a what if scenario, their bodies don't get hurt from stress because of training versus Buu, Gohan, and Hirudegarn. This is a very complicated question, so let's take it piece by piece. Main Super Saiyan Goku versus Super Saiyan Broly. I'm gonna have to go with Broly. But if you're saying just Super Saiyan Broly or Legendary Super Saiyan Broly, I have to say Legendary Super Saiyan Broly. Maybe Super Saiyan Broly would be weaker, but I doubt it, because this is Goku from the Cell Saga. Alright, and Krillin and Yamcha not Kaioken... And Krillin and Yamcha not Kaioken times a bunch of these zeros, and in a what if scenario if their bodies don't get hurt from stress. This is too, I'm sorry man, this is too hypothetical. I can't see a Kaioken with this many zeros taking place, so I'm gonna just have to nullify that part of the question. Versus Buhan, I'm gonna have to say, I mean, if that 50 billion whatever number you made was legitimate, then I guess they could probably beat Buhan, but I can't see them not having stress of it. And, I mean, that's basically it. They could definitely beat Buhan and Hirudegarn, but come on, I mean, did you really have to exaggerate on all these zeros? And that's basically my opinion. Alright, what do you think about this video? A Static Lullaby. I will ignore this question temporarily because I have other questions to answer, but I'll check it out once I'm done with this. Alright, as a matter of fact, I'll open it in a new tab. Alright, there we go. Alright, so let's see. If Future Trunks had never come back to the present... Hold on. If Future Trunks had never come back to the present the second time and the Z Fighters had proceeded to defeat Dr. Gero, how do you think that would have affected Androids 13 through 18 Cell and Vegeta's interaction as well as his overall character? Alright, let's see. Future Trunks had never came back to the present the second time, and the Z Fighters had proceeded to defeat Dr. Gero. Well, I don't know why Trunks wouldn't have come back the second time. The only reason is, let's say he tried to fight the androids and he got killed, or the androids found him and died. So I'm gonna use that as an alibi, because whenever you guys give me what ifs, I have to think of a legitimate situation for it to have taken place. I just can't make up a what if on the spot. So if he had come back a second time, the only way would have been if the androids killed him, or if he died of some other cause, and the Z Fighters had proceeded to defeat Dr. Gero. I think that would affect the series in many ways, because when Trunks met with Bulma and Gohan about the whole Cell threat, he was obviously able to identify his time machine and all of that. And I think that without Trunks around, that situation would have been played out completely differently. As far as androids 13 through 18, I don't know about that. I think 17 and 18 would have still been around. And I think, so I don't think that would have changed anything. And I think Cell and Vegeta's interaction would have been different. I think Cell, I mean, because of, you know, Vegeta's son not being there, Vegeta would have been extra cocky. He would have trained by himself. Well, technically he kind of trained by himself anyways, as hinted by the filler. So I think that Vegeta would have been very different. He would have probably have been a lot more aggressive, because Trunks kind of opened his heart up a lot more. So I definitely think that without him coming back, that would have changed a lot of things, especially dealing with the hyperbolic time chamber. Vegeta would have probably have still messed around, but Goku and Gohan would probably still beat Cell in the end. Alright. Hey Qaaman, I'm curious to know what you think about when Goku goes Super Saiyan 3 for the first time. Just before his transformation, they zoom in on his eyes and they show the Ozaru regressing into an adult Goku and then into a baby Goku. I'd like to know your thoughts on this. Thank you. Honestly, I just thought it was a pretty cool, you know, scene to like show how Goku has changed over time, from being a baby to being this legendary Super Saiyan 3 form, from being Ozaru. I think it was just basically showing all of his transformations. I don't think it had anything really to do with the actual show as a whole. Alright, from Scotty Madden. What if somehow Goku never got the heart virus? I actually made a whole video on this, so there's no point in me answering this brief if I went in depth on it. Trollalalalala, okay, thank you. How could old Kai unleash the true potential of Gohan, but then the making Guru couldn't, when he specifically said he could unlock Gohan's true potential? This has been a debate that I've been hearing for years. I don't think Guru ever unlocked Gohan's true potential. I think he just made it easier for it to come out. And I think there's proof of this. As a matter of fact, I should make a video on this. But there's proof of it, because when Gohan was fighting against Frieza, there were points that even after the Elder Kai, after Guru had unlocked his power, that Gohan still used his hidden power at certain points afterwards to fight Frieza, which means that his power wasn't always out anyways, even after Guru had done it. I just think that Guru made it easier for it to come out, and the Elder Kai, obviously being a Kai, just, you know, really truly brought out his true potential. What if Krillin died against the Cybermen? I mean, I don't think he could have, considering the fact that I think based off of how powerful he was, and I think Krillin's a lot more cautious than Yamcha is. I don't think he would have happened if it did. I mean, it really wouldn't make that much of a difference on the series, because, I mean, the gap between Yamcha, Tien, and Krillin's power level at the time of the Saiyan Saga was so close in terms of each other. They weren't that far apart from each other, even though I believe Tien was was the strongest out of the three, followed by Krillin, then Yamcha, that either one of them could have been a Krillin replacement later on. Maybe you can argue that, you know, because of Chaozu, Tien would have been a little bit more hot-headed, and Yamcha was still weaker, but I mean, honestly, either one of them could have been substituted. But that's a very good question. I never really thought about that, but it's a very good question, Nitro. There's no direct answer, but I say what would change the most is definitely Krillin's personality in defending Gohan from the others. Alright. Specifically, Piccolo, when Piccolo got pissed that Gohan chickened out. Alright, what if Yamcha, Tien, Chaozu, along with Piccolo, went to Namek, and they got their hidden abilities drawn up by the Great Elder, Guru? Would they have made a difference in the Namek Saga against the Ginyu Force and Frieza? Yes, they would have made a difference, but how much of a difference is difficult. If they all got their powers unlocked by Guru, I definitely think that would have aided them against the Ginyu fight. But I mean, this is very complicated to think of, because honestly, Nitro, this is a very good question, but I don't see this ever happening, because how would they have, you know, come to Namek? How would they have survived the Saiyan threat? There's no way they would have survived the Saiyan threat unless Goku was there. So I mean, that's just honestly my opinion on the whole series. Buu Saga Tien versus Frieza. I think that Tien would probably be stronger than all of Frieza's forms, besides his final form probably. But I definitely think that if he was stronger than Frieza, he would be stronger than the Frieza from Namek, not from Fukatsu no F, and not Mecha Frieza, if Mecha Frieza truly got the power up. But definitely I can't see Tien as being as strong as a Super Saiyan, but he could probably be stronger than Frieza's first three forms for sure. Meta Cooler and Mecha Frieza versus Android 17. Android 17, not even close. How did Hercule throw 16's head further than Cell kicked it? This is a funny question, and I'll do a little quick time check. Alright, so I'm almost out of time here. I guess it's just done for comic relief. I mean, this is a funny question. I guess they just exaggerated. I mean, there was only one way to get 16's head, and maybe Cell didn't even really put any strength into it. He just like tap kicked it. I don't know. All right, I don't think people are trying to be racist or anything when they're asking your ethnicity. So why are you avoiding these questions? My ethnicity is a Saiyan, so I don't know what you're talking about. Alright, would Dragon Ball GT be better if only Goku, Trunks, and Goten went on the spaceship, and would the story change? Yeah, I'm sure, because it would have made the series a lot more interesting. Goten and Trunks could fuse, they could fight more powerful villains without having to rely on Pan, so I definitely think it would have been very interesting, but I do think Pan was a solid character. I just think GT used her wrong. And let's answer I'm gonna answer 3 more. What if there was World Martial Arts Tournament in real life, like in Dragon Ball Z? If there was a World Martial Arts Tournament in real life, I'm sure it already exists in Japan or somewhere. I don't really know, but there are many World Martial Arts tournaments. They're just probably not as big as they are in the DBZ show, and people win every year. There are many different types of martial arts competitions out there. It's just what you define as World Martial Arts is different. In Dragon Ball Z, why didn't they call the Supreme Kai or Elder Kai to teleport them to all the planets they needed to get to so they can get the Black Star Dragon Balls faster? I guess that's just writing. I never even thought about that, and if I did, I probably would have put that into the GT review, but maybe they didn't want to bother him, and maybe, who knows, they probably wanted to go on the adventure. But technically, if you really want to be serious, they could just tell Goku where it is, and Goku could use his instant transmission to go there. But then again, he kind of struggled using instant transmission as a kid at certain points, even though it was inconsistent, because he did use it properly at other points. So honestly, I just think it's an inconsistency. Alright, and here is the last question of the day. Don't do drugs, bro. Be drug free. Yes, I don't do any drugs. And that's been a solid episode of Qaaman Answers Subscriber Questions today. I did a little bit over 30 minutes, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. So please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. And remember, as I always say, to have a great day, guys.